What is up, everyone? JD here. I hope you're doing well today. We're going to be doing full review of the Quiet Carry Drift Large. Let's get into it. All right, so what we have here is Quiet Carry Drift. This is the large variant. Unfortunately, I haven't gotten my Quiet Carry Drift LC back yet. I would love to do a comparison once I get that back, but we'll do that in a future video. For now, I wanted to dive into this one because they're kind of going in and out of stock. I had a few days with it, and I'm really ready and in a good place to do the review. So let's do some size comparisons, profile comparison. We'll check the weight. And at the end, if you're interested, we're going to disassemble this and take a look at it. It looks like interesting construction. Everything is on the opposite side, which is the way I actually prefer to disassemble my knives. Let's jump into the size comparisons first. We're going to kick it off with the Spyderco Para 3. And as you can see, the drift just slightly larger than that. And then here it is against the Spyderco Shaman. I like this size comparison here. Very comparable in size. The Shaman just has a little bit more blade edge, a little bit more blade to it, and a little bit more handle, but very comparable. I also thought it'd be very interesting for those out there that have one and are curious to take a look at it against the Quiet Carry 9. And as you can see, the 9 more medium, the large drift more in the larger realm. I mean, they're very close in size, but you can feel a difference in the hand. There's definitely a difference there. And I thought we would take a look at it against the Maverick, because the Maverick is very comparable, very similar blade lengths. You got a little bit more length on the Maverick handle, but not too much. The other reason I really wanted to do that as well, since it is the full size, I wanted something that was a little bit thinner in my inventory to both do profile and blade profile comparison, because I don't normally do that. But this has such a thin blade on it, it's hard to ignore it. So you can see the Maverick, which I consider a very thin knife, is very comparable. I mean, the contouring on the Maverick versus the flat scales on the Drift LC, if you can see that, just make this ever so slightly thicker, and then I'll show it to you against the contoured scales of the 9, and you can see that Drift L is definitely thin. And then let's take a look, because as you can see here, that Maverick has a very thin blade stock. Check that out. The Drift L is even thinner across the entire blade stock. Now, out on the tip, they get really close. I would say that the Maverick probably even thins down more. But when you talk about total slicing performance, these are both lasers. I'm not knocking on either one of these, but this thing just has no drag. It is crazy. So there you go. Blade profile comparison. Let's check the weight out on this fully titanium L. I have a feeling that this is going to be around that 3.5 ounce mark, maybe 3.7, because it is all titanium construction with a little bit of steel in there, but it's really thin. So 3.5 ounces. I should have stuck with my instinct of thinking that this was going to be around 3.5 ounces. So let's get into my thoughts and impressions. We kept the comparisons relatively short, right? Let's jump into my thoughts and impressions on the knife, and then we're going to jump into the disassembly, which I think some of you folks will be very interested in. Plus, I kind of want to clean the excess grease off and put my own lube on there. I like to do that. I find that it usually does, when cleaning up, improve the action, because right now it still kind of wants to start to fall, but it just stops at that midpoint. I will say really quickly, it has good access to the lock bar. One thing that I do like about the design that they did here, where the lock bar engages right there. Sorry, not the lock bar, where the plunge grind ends, and at the thickest part of the blade, when you go to drop it, when you hit that lock bar, that piece is actually what hits on the thumb, and the closer you can get to that lock bar at the top, the more that it's going to drop on that thumb. And then, you know, it's very good for that slide out unlock and close. If you want to do it that way one-handed, you might not even care that it drops shut. Also for the pickup and close as well. It's just phosphor bronze washers have no feedback when you open and close them. They're very glassy feeling, like it feels like there's no resistance. With bearing knives like the 9 here, you kind of feel a little bit of the bearings rolling some. Not always, some. And then it has just that, you can feel it kind of, I don't want to say it's rolling because that's probably not a really good description, but you can feel because they're moving so fast and they're providing feedback from that quick speed. They provide a little bit of feedback that you can feel, but it's not like it's a bad feeling. It's still very smooth. Even though this is a really thin knife, they did a really good job of stopping the knurling here on the edges and then chamfering all around to keep it nice and smooth where it makes contact with the palm. Everything sits very flush as far as hardware and transitioning to the blade. It's very nicely done on this side as well. You don't feel any rough spots for any of the cutouts whatsoever. It is large, so I am able to comfortably get a 4-finger grip. Now, my pinky a little bit hangs off the back or kind of ramps up, and you kind of gotta shove it in there. But it's comfortable. I mean, I don't really feel like I'm fighting to get in there or that I wish I had just a little bit more real estate. It's really comfortable. And it's surprising. I feel like because they did go tall, even though they went thin, that kind of offsets and it still lets me get lots of grip with the fingertips and the palm because there's so much handle there to grab. But that thinness, I was worried about that when I first got it. I was like, is this going to be comfortable to use and to cut with? And it is. And this is a slicer. The factory edge on here is really well done. It bit into everything that I wanted to cut into. And when I went to test the blade's edge after a couple of, two Amazon boxes that I broke down after I got into those, with various cutting of things in between, opening, whatever, the edge is held up really, really well. I'm super impressed with that. I love the thumb studs on here. I love the thumb studs on my 9, and I love it on the drift. The D10 is perfectly tuned. The relief cuts on the inside, so it keeps the lines super clean. Again, they have that lanyard hole. They don't have it here, but it kind of goes into the back and comes out of the back spacer. It's like that on the LC as well. So you don't have on the show side a lanyard hole coming through. And I think that's a great way to approach it because this side's all cut up anyway. It has your pocket clip typically on that side. So this side's already kind of compromised. So having the hole there and having it come out the back really is not intrusive or offensive. And again, it keeps this entire show side of the knife super clean looking. I love the blade profile on here. It worked really good for going across the top of the box to get into it, so that utility cut works well. Pinch grip is perfect for me. I land in a really good spot, easy to control. This jimping here helps with the thumb to have that grip there. The crown spine is super comfortable and a very nice touch on the design. I really like this. And if you saw the LC and you're like, LC 200N, G10 Soshad with very aggressive knurling on that one. That one is definitely meant to be like, wet gloves, wet hands, stay right in place. You're not going to slip. Fish guts, whatever, is not going to let you slip out of the cut with that particular knife. So it is definitely built to fill the hand and to stay in place, and this is built to stay in place and it will fill the hand, but I feel like the G10 has more aggressive there, and then the girth is going to be better to make sure it doesn't slip. But this, because of the way that it has like this boomerang shape or like that Batman emblem shape, it's really locked in. I haven't tested it wet, so I can't say for certain that this isn't going to go anywhere. It is metal. You do have more of a risk with an all-metal knife of it slipping. It's not as easy to get a grip on. The G10 is not going to be as slick. It's not going to respond to be feeling as slick when it gets wet. So I really like this, and I love the profile of it. It is made in Taiwan. Quiet Carry says all of their productions with Taiwan. So if you're on that side of the fence where you don't support Chinese production because the labor laws, and I respect that, this is Taiwan, and it's very close to what you would get from American production and buying in America. It's not buying in America, but it's very close to that, right? You don't have that guilt that some may have for buying Chinese knives. Others, it's not a non-factor. That's up to you, and I'm not here for that debate. But I'm here to tell you, if you like the 9 and you thought it was a little too small, the Drift L is right there where you want it to be, and it's an L Max. super clean. I mean, it's Vanex super clean. I don't know where Elmex came from. Vanex super clean. That's a knife that excites me a little bit more than Magna Cut. It's not going to hold an edge quite as well as 20CV, but it's going to have that really good Magna Cut type edge retention, and it's going to have superior corrosive resistance. I mean, it's supposed to be what, rust proof, right? If you don't like something, if you feel like the 9 is going to be, and here you go, I'll bring out here's the hierarchy. I feel like the Para 3 is going to be a little bit smaller than your 9. So your 9 is what I would call like dead smack large. And then I would say the Quiet Carry Drift L is larger, right? No bruisers here, just large knives. But this is more medium. I can get a full 4-finger grip. Blade to handle ratio is off. I do understand that, but for summer carry and just something to have on me to cut with, I do like the Para 3. The bug out's more like the size of the 9. I like the Mavericks, the thin, lightweight knives, and that falls right here with this one. So I definitely like it. What do you think about this one? Let me know in the comments down below. If you're not interested in hanging out for the disassembly to see what the internals look like, thanks for hanging out. I love you, and have a fantastic week. Let's go ahead and pull the mat out real quick and get set up. All right, we're all set up here. We got everything out that we need. We got our lube here. We got our bits. I don't think we'll need thread locker. I haven't had to on any of my other quiet carries. I believe I checked the hardware, and I believe it's all T8. Yeah, all T8 hardware. So this is going to be a super easy disassembly. We're going to start by taking the bolt for the pocket clip out, because that looks like it's the second bolt for the backspacer. And what I love about this type of construction, let's see here, is this going to be like the 9? The 9 did not want to come out, even though I squoze it. No, it comes right out. Perfect. Let's check the hardware. Titanium hardware. Steel pocket clip. So there you go. That answers that question there. Clean that up a little bit. But it looks like it goes through the back spacer here, and it looks like this has some type of cutout to keep it from moving. They are Chicago styles bolt holes, or bolts, I guess, because it's not the screw. The screw goes straight through, and you can clearly see which one's pocket clip and which one's isn't. So very, very simple, straightforward 3-bolt construction. And I'm not quite sure. I'm curious when we get in here to see what it looks like, where the notch is to keep this from moving, because it is not moving at all on the other side. Really simple construction. So there you go. Disassembled washers. You got your detent ball hole milled out on the inside for weight reduction. Back spacer, I believe that's titanium too. The screws are probably going to throw it off a little bit. Yeah, titanium. Actually, it's all titanium construction in there. So really, really nice. All right, so I'm just going to clean it up really quick. There's no surprise here. It's a solid pivot, solid stop pin. I'm going to jump ahead to the reassembly just for the sake of time on this video, because it is part of the review. All right, so I just finished cleaning everything up, and I realized I forgot to point out 2 things. So this has a D shape to it, and the D shape faces downward, and it goes all the way through on the pivot. So you do have that nice D shape there that is keeping everything from moving. And then I didn't realize until I started cleaning, LC200N on your stop lock bar insert with that ceramic ball down there. Really nice touch there to ensure that everything on here is corrosive resistant. So I'm just going to lube up really quick and get everything reassembled. It shouldn't take but a couple extra seconds, so we'll just stick together on this one. I do recommend just, a couple of dabs of lube on here to keep that resistance down to a minimum, to get that really buttery smooth action. And then same thing once you put it down, just on the opposite side. You don't have to go crazy here, because I don't like it to seep out of there. And I'm of the mind that I'm going to probably just go ahead and do the maintenance on all of this anyway. So it really doesn't bother me too much. I'm just going to wipe that excess away to keep it from being too much. And I just totally missed that. So I'm just going to wipe that off a little bit. And what I'll do to kind of combat that is just a little on this side. And I'll drop it down on there, and then Same thing there. It comes out of this applicator a little too fast, so I try to be quick, and I apologize if I'm moving too fast. Feel free to kind of rewind that and go back if you want to. So I'm just going to put a cap on the applicator to keep that from, throwing up all over the place. Now that you have everything back together, you can just proceed with the reassembly. Everything should, I have found, with quiet carry knives, just kind of fall into place. And it seems like this is no exception. The pins are kind of falling out here, so I'm just going to work those back in because I don't want to battle with those. Once I get this back together, what I'll go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and start with the pivot bolt and not grab the lube and grab the screwdriver instead, or the tool. We're going to go ahead and fasten that down pretty snugly, and then what I'm going to do is grab the non-pocket clip bolt. And with these two bolts, you can go ahead and work out any centering, tolerances, anything that you want to right there. So that's nice and snug. This feels pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and move it over to the close position, or start to close position. It's way too tight, so I'm going to loosen it. And then I'm going to pinch it back down. I found with washer knives, this is a good way to ensure centering. I'm going to go ahead and over tighten and then back it out until I feel like the tension kind of has released. I'm going to check it. Still too tight, way too tight. Let's back it out some more. With washer knives, you should be able, with this one, yeah, no play. Wow, that is really dropping shut. It is favoring the show side ever so slightly, so I might be able to take a little bit more tension back to it. Yeah, that small movement got it back centered, nice and smooth, still centered. A little bit of play, so let's just a little bit more back into it. You gotta kind of, all right, no play, and I think we're back where we were. So this might require a little bit of thread locker. I'll monitor it in the coming days and see if I need more thread locker. Let me see if I can just back it out slightly to keep it from coming out. It felt like it was long enough. All right, that was a little bit of movement. No side to side. Yeah, and I feel like, yep, it's centered. So I feel like we're in a good spot. I'm not going to do thread locker. I am going to loosen this here just to kind of let it settle in a little bit and tighten it back. Yeah, dead center. Yeah, that's perfect. All right. So the trick with the pocket clips I have found that work for me, now your results may vary, is just to use this like tongs, like on a grill. It helps when I put the tool down. So kind of pinching it together. This one's a little bit smaller, and my hands still have a little bit of oil on there. And then kind of like lifting it up. Man, yeah, these are really small, guys. But this usually does work. So kind of using these like tongs to kind of catch the top of the bolt, and actually it makes more sense to kind of come in from the back and catch it that way, I guess. So there. Oh, it slipped out after I did that. You suck. Let me try to angle it up a little bit higher so that you can see. So kind of catching it like that and then pinching it so that it doesn't want to fall out is going to be the best way I have found to put these back in, because they're really a pain to get back in the hole and keep the bolt from falling out. Oh, I didn't even realize it would clear like that. So that would work too. So just kind of getting it over top there. I know my fingers are blocking a little, but I have found that that works best. This actually has enough clearance. You could have come in from the side and not done that at all and probably saved a little bit of time. This one here, I am going to snug. Yep. I'm not going to go too tight there. I don't want to damage anything. Still centered. And action's about where it was before. This will continue to break in, especially with the lube now. Having it like I do and cleaning that detent hole and everything, this is going to be, yeah, it feels just a little bit smoother now. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, definitely feels a little bit smoother now. So there you go. That's your disassembly of the Quiet Carry Drift L. I hope you enjoyed it and that was beneficial to you. Comment down below to let me know. I appreciate when you do that. It helps me with the channel. I hope you have a fantastic week, and until next time, peace.